With all the talk and hype around another game in the Final Fantasy XIII storyline, now is as good a time as any to review Final Fantasy XIII for the Xbox 360. It's of course also available on the PS3, where it suffers from higher resolution cutscenes. But PS3 gamers only got one game disc, while us Xbox 360 types got 3 discs. So that's right, you get 300% more disc for the same price. Hey everyone, I'm Fox with FoxeoGames, and this is my review of Final Fantasy XIII for the Xbox 360. Final Fantasy XIII was released back in 2010 for those of us in the States, so you're probably wondering why I'm reviewing it now. Well, let me tell you, I felt like making a review, and I had lots of Final Fantasy XIII footage on hand. I played through the entirety of the game twice. Yes, that's right, my first playthrough was all by myself, but on my second playthrough I recorded the footage so that you too could take this journey with me. Final Fantasy for the 13th time. Well, to be honest, there's more than 13 of these games, and they've been known in the past for being particularly good JRPGs. What's a JRPG? It's a Japanese role-playing game. It's Japanese as opposed to more Western or computer role-playing game because of how it's structured. You see, most Western-style RPGs focus on the expansive game world combat and self-determination. You often design your own character and then choose how you want to play the game. In most JRPGs, the characters come pre-designed for you most of the time, oftentimes with expansive backstories and love interests. I was a huge fan of Final Fantasy on the NES, and then Final Fantasy IV and VI on the Super Nintendo. I liked Final Fantasy VII for the PS1, but didn't think it was the masterpiece that so many others see it as. But enough about those other games. What about FF13? Well, after making so many of these games, you'd think that they would have perfected the art of Japanese role-playing games, and that is not what happened here. You see, FF13 was certainly the most convoluted, confusing, and poorly executed JRPG I'd seen in a long time. Despite having some amazing production values, from strikingly beautiful cutscenes to a powerful and moving soundtrack, the game suffers from a terrible and confusing story, mostly unlikable characters, and the most linear gameplay known to mankind. And womankind. In fact, it's the most linear JRPG in the known universe. And I can say that because we actually know of all of the known universe, because it's known. Many gamers humorously call this game Final Hallway 13, a sarcastic jab at the fact that the vast majority of the game consists of running in one direction along a narrow corridor. Deviations from these mostly straight paths are few and generally don't go far, forcing you to backtrack to the original path. The game continually pushes you in only one direction with essentially no real towns, shops, or freedom to explore the overworld. There is a brief period where you're allowed to run around in an open field like a free-range chicken, but it's filled with mostly side quests that are not essential to the game. You will have to return to the hallways if you want to progress the story, just like chickens will eventually have to return to their cages if we're going to get cheap eggs. But you wouldn't want to return to the story because the story is bad. From beginning to end, you'll find yourself endlessly searching the in-game encyclopedia trying to figure out what is what. The game introduces a myriad of characters, terms, places, and organizations, none of which are really explained well at all. This game is what you would call Baldantic. Well, what is Baldantic, you ask? Well, I'm not going to tell you. You need to look it up in the companion dictionary that comes with each of my videos. Prepare to do a lot of reading to understand anything of what's going on, and then you realize it's not interesting anyway. The characters are completely uninteresting except for Lightning. She's the only intelligent, reasonable person in this ragtag bunch of morons. You can tell by watching her facial expressions that she knows she's working with a bunch of idiots and there's nothing she can do about it. So in order to fit in better with these numbskulls, she dons a short miniskirt in which she performs fantastic aerobic feats in battle. Why would you ever wear a miniskirt to battle? You wouldn't, except if you intentionally wanted to appear dumber than you were. Lightning I applaud you. If you can't beat them, join them. You don't want to stick out in the group, so you act like a little bit stupid just to fit in.
Pretty lame.
I played through this game twice, so now you don't have to. The story is bad, the characters are bad, the combat system is actually decent and slightly innovative, but this doesn't make up for the other negatives the game has. Once you get tired of looking at the pretty visuals, you'll be stuck with nothing left but a pedantic, banal, insipid JRPG that just leaves you wanting to play a better game. And how do you like my use of the online thesaurus with those words? Just like Final Fantasy XIII, I'm not going to explain any of that to you, so you'll be left to Google it on your own.
We've been waiting.
Well guys, this has been a terrible review for a terrible game, Final Hallway 13 for the Xbox 360. Just remember, friends don't let friends play Final Fantasy XIII.